he will continue to reiterate points that are directly in contradiction to the point that came prior to it over and over again. It doesn't even matter, though, because his base eats that shit up. His base has developed this incredible appetite for misinformation. It is genuinely alarming, where they will go, war is over in a matter of moments. They'll go, hell yeah, war is over, mission accomplished. And then he will follow that up by saying, and we will continue the war for an endless amount of time until there is a decisive victory. And they go, yeah, we'll continue the war. In a matter of moments, they hear the words come out of his mouth, and immediately they swap their position. All right, Donald Trump, Congressional Institute, dancing in front of Republicans. Trump speaks to Republicans as the Iran war sends oil prices soaring. Let's take a look. Oh, he's gonna do the victory dance, dude. It's awesome. He's gonna say the Iranian Navy is destroyed. He's gonna say the Iranian Air Force is destroyed. Meanwhile, the Iranian Air Force is like already incredibly limited, and they have like weapons that we basically retired, fighter jets that we retired in the 80s, and that's their Air Force, right? This is the mission accomplished banner that they're going to unfold right here. The Iranian Navy is also irrelevant when it comes to like, working the Strait of Hormuz. They have the go-fast boats that they use, and those boats are fine.
Just everybody. Thank you very much. And to our great speaker, Speaker Johnson. And hello to the men and women of one of the most consequential Republican majorities in history. It's not a big majority, but it's just about the most consequential. The job you've done is incredible. And they are members that are warriors and really people that are for the American people, and that's why you're doing well, and I think that's why we're going to continue to do well. We're fighting a little tradition, you know, historically the person that wins,
This is in the press
Democrat
conference, by the way, this press conference after this, we'll probably talk more about domestic policy.
For whatever reason, it doesn't work out, but we've done a lot. I don't know, I think we had the best first year of any president ever, and that includes you. Because you came along with me and you made it happen. So with your help and hard work, we're making America great again, and we're doing it much faster than we thought, and it's better, stronger, and our country is doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good. Short-term. Short-term. Thank you. They're great. You know, we all together, in my first term, we rebuilt our military. And I didn't know I'd be using it so much in the second term, but we have a military like no other. It's not even close. But I especially want to recognize the rest of our amazing House Republican leadership team and so many of my friends that are congressmen, some senators. We have some great people in this room, but including Majority Leader, a real brave guy, because I know the real story. I was there that night with him in the hospital when he was given a very small chance of living by a doctor who was very good, by a wife who was desperately in love with him. She cried so much. Because I've seen the other two. I've seen guys at the end of the line, the wives aren't exactly shaken up. When they don't cry, when they have no tears or any sign of tears, this is not a good sign of a great marriage. But he must have a great marriage, because she was just devastated. She was going to lose her guy. But it worked out that the doctor said more blood was put into him than he's ever seen. He was in big trouble. I looked at him that night and I said goodbye to him, but he made it. He was brave, and look at the way he fought back from so many different things. Steve Scalise.
Has to piss into a colostomy bag for the rest of his life, by the way.
Another one, Tom Emmer, who I really got to know over the last few years, and I'll tell you, he's a winner.
Mr. Empathy over here. What a way with words. Once again, talking about Steve Scalise, guy who got shot in his butt and penis at the congressional baseball game.
But Tom is just a real champion and a winner, and you have a problem, you go to him, he gets it solved. So thank you very much. Great job. You've done a great job. And our conference chairwoman is Lisa McLean, and we all know Lisa. Don't get on her wrong side.
Oh, sorry, that's not a colostomy bag.
Experience. Thank you very much. Great job, Lisa. Great job. And a very special thanks. You know, you broke a record. This is over 20 million. This is it's the biggest of these type of events that there's ever been by a lot. You know, you didn't just break it, you broke it by a lot. So I want to congratulate you. But there's just great spirit. The Republican Party has fantastic spirit. The level, I don't think, has been seen before. I really don't. We have to get a couple of people on board, which, you know, at least one case is virtually impossible. I wonder who that might be. A sick person. But I want to say a very special thanks to everyone at the Congressional Institute for helping organize this event. This has been amazing. And over the past 9 days, we've been reminded of how vital our Republican majorities are. And it's, you know, it's America's future. We're really fighting because these people, you saw the other night at the State of the Union, you saw these people. They wouldn't stand for a mother who just lost her daughter by having her throat slit from behind. They wouldn't stand for a helicopter pilot who just got the Congressional Medal of Honor for landing
so
safely
fucking
in
washed. Oh my
Venezuela
God.
helicopter with a lot of
He's still doing the Democrats wouldn't stand up for the things.
Helicopter, and he was able to land it safely, and his leg was
absolutely
practically
nobody.
ripped off.
This is
and for those people that
I
know
will tell
about
you this much. This is for the dumbest of the cattle. Okay? The ones that are leading the pack into the slaughterhouse. Like, at this point, who the cares about the Democrats not standing up? You know what I mean?
Down the aisle.
Completely
Which didn't make
ridiculous.
all of those soldiers in the back feel too good. They're looking at a pilot who's bleeding out. But they didn't want to stand for that. They didn't want to stand for a 100-year-old soldier who had left a legacy of bravery. Everybody talked about it for years, and it was time for him to get the Congressional Medal of Honor. They didn't want to stand for him. There's something wrong with those people, and we can't let them ever be in a position where they can lead this country again or destroy this country again, because we almost lost this country. This country was close to being lost. The representatives in this room provided the pivotal votes in securing a record $1 trillion for the United States military this year, and now the world is witnessing the importance of that investment with one of the most complex and stunning operations ever conducted, and that's Operation Epic Fury. That's a great name, isn't it? Epic Fury. That's even better than Midnight Hammer, which was pretty good too, right? That was where we knocked out their nuclear potential. That was a big day, because if we didn't do that, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks. And I think we'd be in a lot different situation. And then you had, of course, what they did in Venezuela, how that was just so far so good. We've done a real job. We've got all good ones. If you go back and you look at Afghanistan with Biden, one of the worst, I think the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. If you look at what happened with Jimmy Carter, with
Operation
Iran,
Epic Fortnite
but if you look
Chungus,
at what
Epstein's
happened
Fury.
with the helicopters and
That's right.
the hostages, it cost them the election. It was what a mess. The world respects us right now more than they have ever respected us before.
That's
And because of
complete and
Republicans,
utter
you people in
delusion.
Congress, the United States has by far the strongest and most powerful military on the face of the earth. We're the strongest military anywhere in the earth, and now everybody understands it. Together with our Israeli partners, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. Iran's drone and missile capability is being utterly demolished. The Navy is gone. It's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it?
I called it, remember?
In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, what quality of ship? Excellent, sir. top of the line. I said,
I
why did we
fucking
just
called
capture the
it!
ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them? They said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, they like sinking them better. They say it's safer to sink them. I guess it's probably true. But think of it, we knocked out 46, and actually it took 3.5 days. Their terrorist leaders are gone. We're counting down the minutes until they will be gone. Think of it, we had leaders, and they're gone. Then we had new leaders, and they're gone. And now nobody has any idea who the people are that are going to be the head of the country, and will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. And remember, Iran did so many bad things. They were really, if you look at Soleimani, who was taken out, as you know that, but you know who. But if you look at Soleimani, the father of the roadside, you call it a roadside bomb, because most people don't understand the different terms.
Oh my
Plant
God,
bombs in
that's
roads
so
as you
dumb.
drive by, happily drive by, the bomb goes off, and no matter how strong the armament, it just kills the people. Or you lose your arms, legs, and face. And those bombs got worse and worse, and he got happier and happier, and we took him out. That was a big thing because he was the head. It might have been a much different.
Soleimani, listen, Qasem Soleimani was literally the #1 killer of the people who were putting those roadside bombs. Okay? And was in direct contact with the American military virtually the entire time throughout the global war on terror. Like, when we talk about the Iranian intervention in the region, okay, Syria is different. But as far as like Iraq goes, like the IRGC forces were quite literally working in tandem with the American forces.
For the most part, a lot of the fallen, the warriors.
I think he's talking about the Iraqi insurgency, which used IEDs pre-ISIS. It doesn't matter.
War, they seem to
even before then.
Dover does a great job.
Like the Iranian government quite literally sent mourning. They were mourning the loss after 9/11. They were shocked when the American government decided to put Iran in the axis of evil. They were like, "What the fuck, axis of evil? Bitch, the people that did this to you are our ops, our main ops in the region." They were like, Saudi Arabia is right there. They're the ones who did it. What the fuck are you doing? And then America was like, no, you're the reason. You're the enemy, actually.
Ways, but we haven't won enough. We go forward more determined than ever to achieve ultimate victory that will end this long-running danger once and for all. 47 years. It should have been done a long time ago. The world would have been a different place had some president had the courage to go and do it. They should have done it many, many times. They had many opportunities. The United States of America is the greatest and most exceptional nation in human history and will not be threatened by evil terrorists and lunatics any longer. We just can't do that. And, you know, when I always talk about how great our nation is, I don't know. I don't consider our nation very great for 4 years under Biden. We were a laughingstock all over the world. We were a laughingstock. So, you know, I say great, 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 but I don't know. When you look at what happened with so many different things, the open border, 25 million people, many of them very bad people pouring into our country with open borders that just said, come on in, makes no difference. They emptied their jails into our country. 11,888 murders, 50% of which murdered more than one person. The drug dealers came in, the mentally insane came in, they emptied their mental institutions, they emptied their insane asylum. That's a step above a mental institution. They emptied them all right into our country.
None of this is real. And I don't even know where to begin. Like, I want to do like a Daniel Dale debunking, but like I can't even do a debunking because every single thing he's saying is a lie.
We're saddled with all of the problems of the criminals that were let in. You know, look, there's smart
My
people.
favorite type of Trump lie is when he's also projecting like shit that we have done, like in El Salvador, where we literally did empty out our prisons of the MS-13 gang members without telling the Salvadoran government. Like, we did do that to them. So it's always funny when they go, oh, and they're emptying out their prisons. Like, no, we did that, actually. We literally did do that. That was a part of American foreign policy back in the day. And it's so crazy that they just hit this line over and over again, like, oh, they're emptying out their insane asylums.
Parts of South America, Asia.
Asylum seekers are a lie.
Murderers.
You're misleading your audience. Oh my God, the dumb cattle unironically believe that insane. Oh no, you're 24-month subscriber. You're an idiot. Okay, there's no way. Asylum seeking is a legal application to seek asylum on U.S. soil. It doesn't mean literally these guys are coming from insane asylums. Please stop memeing like this. Oh my God.
And you're going through it right now, fellas. I mean, you're going through, it's not even believable. You know, we should be very safe right now, especially when we're attacking somebody that's evil, bad intention. But last week, 53 House Democrats voted against a resolution affirming that Iran remains the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Who the hell would do that? I mean, almost every act, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah, no matter what, you take a look, it's Iran or Iran sponsored. And even more outrageously, as we speak, Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security. They've got it shut down. Do you believe it? Right now. Because they care more about amnesty for illegal alien criminals than about protecting the lives of American citizens. I mean, take a look at it. The American citizen is
I watched another Jeffrey Sachs interview
by Democrats.
How the f do I get Jeffrey Sachs on the broadcast, by the way, chatters?
None of this stuff.
Chatters, I want Jeffrey Sachs on the broadcast. I want him.
And they wouldn't
How do we
stand
do
up
that?
for
Any of you, his students at
incredible
Columbia?
people. They just refuse to clap, stand up.
None of the big three networks are airing this?
Because somebody was passing. No, you people are getting killed tonight. They were all. They'd stand up for everything I was saying.
Doesn't matter. We're airing it, and we're bigger than the big three.
For things that they shouldn't have stood up for. Because they got the word, you're getting killed tonight. Stand up and clap for the woman that just lost her daughter, please, to a violent criminal. But Democrats must vote immediately to reopen the Department of Homeland Security so that we have the resources to keep America safe.
Yeah, I asked my goat, Kyle the King Kalinske.
And under our pro-America, pro-worker, pro-family agenda, our country is winning again and America is respected again. And I think we have a country that's as hot as it's ever been, ever before, maybe hotter. And I say it all the time. The king of Saudi Arabia said it to me.
That's
better
not
than
actually
anybody
Jeffrey
could say it.
Sachs.
He said, you know, I get along with him very well, very smart person.
That's
He
not,
said, you know,
this is not
a year
actually
and a
Jeffrey
half ago,
Sachs.
Your country was dead. Absolutely dead. We never thought
This
it was
is
coming.
a reactionary
And now you
Jeffrey
have the
Sachs.
hottest
Totally
country
different and
anywhere in the
annoying
world.
as
We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, by far. And that's before we showed off our military strength with Venezuela and now with Iran. You know, Iran was supposed
He also
to be
is a
this big,
professor, but is a
powerful
different
country.
Jeffrey Sachs, and he
We wrapped
sucks.
the hell out of them.
I've been duped by that
And,
too.
you know,
I was in the past. I've seen like some bullshit that he has said where I was like, "Damn, what the f-? Jeffrey Sachs is like that?" But no.
In our country, inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising. The economy is surging. Our border is the most secure.
The problem with
at any
Sachs is that
time
he's
in
too
American
forgiving with Russia
history.
in terms of the
And
invasion
the
of
murder
Ukraine.
rate is
Okay,
the lowest
dude.
in 125 years. That's before my father was born. My father was born 6 years later than that. I don't know if he'd like
Yeah,
me
he's
to say
bad on
that.
Syria
Never
too,
liked
right?
to talk about his age. He said, don't talk about
I've heard
it.
it all.
But think about 125 years ago, 1900, the year 1900, the stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election, and it's going to go a lot higher as soon as we get rid of this stuff that we're doing right now, that we really had no choice. I mean, I asked people, I said, would you rather do this or would you rather go along nice and smoothly, but eventually have a catastrophe the likes of which perhaps the world has never seen? And just about everybody says, except for lunatics, said, no, you had to get it done. Should have been done a long time ago. The average 401k is up almost $35,000. Think of that. It's at the best they've ever done. And I think you're going to see some real numbers when this gets, because this was always a dark cloud hanging over not only Israel, which was going to get wiped out. You know, if we didn't do that B-2 attack, Israel would have been wiped out. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks after that. And even now, I think they were looking to take over the Middle East, because when you look, and we have pretty good proof, all of those missiles that were so stupidly aimed at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, they were all aimed, and others, at countries that were sort of like,
kind of
leave us
feels like they
alone.
weren't so stupidly aimed
They
there,
were all
it
right. They
seems,
were
right? Because
sort of neutral, but they weren't doing it. All of a sudden, they're getting hit with missiles, and they could have gone.
I love that this is like day one. This is day one memes for the record. This is literally this is what they were going with the first day. This is like what Jon Stewart was saying. Oh, how dumb of Iran to hit American military bases in the region.
And if we not,
How dumb of Iran to hit CIA assets in the region. How dumb of Iran to try to neutralize Mossad agents in the region.
because I see the Democrats trying to justify it, and they're failing because the voter on the street is saying it. You gotta
Yeah,
be
this
kidding.
was also funny. Thank you,
But I
CENTCOM,
see
for
where they
admitting
go,
that you're
where
using our
they're
neighbor's
always saying,
territory to
no,
deploy
there was
HIMARS
no
systems
reason.
against our
Well,
people,
I'll
apparently,
give you the
including a
best reason of
desalination
all.
plant.
Within a week, they were going to attack us 100%. They were ready. They had all these missiles, far more than anyone thought, and they were going to attack us. But they were going to attack all of the Middle East and Israel, and if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it on Israel. And this was going to be a major attack. And they had all of those missile sites and all those launchers that we got rid of, about 80% of them right now, by the way. Got rid of most of the, it's died down to a trickle. They have very few launchers left. What our military has done is amazing. They wiped out almost 20%, maybe 22, 23%, but the rest are going very quickly. And the missiles have been largely knocked out. The drones have been knocked down, and we're hitting where they make the drones. We know them all, and we're knocking the hell out of that now where they manufacture the drones. A lot of work, a lot of brilliant work, but we're going to have a much safer world as soon as it's finished. It's going to be finished pretty quickly. With the help of our House Republican majority, we passed the largest tax cuts in American history, and we have to be talking about it.
Donald Trump is making up for the fentanyl gap with an unlimited amount of copium. He's offering so much copium that you can smoke. Everyone in the room is overdosing on it. Okay, they're gagging on it. They're
Which is great
overdosing on
that
it.
nobody ever talks about, Tom, and we have to talk about it. We made interest on auto loans fully deductible. That's never happened. We've never had that. Rich people always get deductions, but middle-income people that have to struggle a little bit never did. But now they can deduct the interest paid against their taxes. We have one little proviso, and I put this on, it's very important. Only if the car is made in America. All right? That's going to have a huge impact. That's going to have a huge impact. We passed the Trump accounts to give every child in America a head start on the American dream, and that's so good.
We're going to wipe out your future,
Okay, the
but
Dell
you will be
family,
able
Dell
to do
computer,
stock trading
put up
at the age of 7.
$6,250 million. Think of it. Started with very little, nothing.
Started from the
very
bottom,
little.
now we're
Started
here,
making
also in
computers
the
on his
bottom.
bed. And he said, yeah, people started liking them better than the ones from the store. And he never stopped. And he can write a check for $6,250 million. He said, and his incredible wife, Susan, they said that's the best thing they've ever done.
I love
He's
sucking
so
off
great. He's gonna do it
billionaires.
again. Gonna do more.
Billionaires are your
We have a lot of other
salvation.
people,
They're
a lot
good
of very
people.
rich
They're good
are doing it.
people.
A lot of people that aren't so rich are
You
doing it.
shouldn't
They're
bring
doing
out
it
the
for their kids, but
pitchforks.
it's turning out. So
It's
some
so
young
good.
child turns 18 or 21, and all of a sudden they have $100,000 in the bank. What a difference that is between having that and having nothing. And it could be more than that. Could be
What
a
he
lot
said
more,
so
depending
far is
on
one
what happens
contradiction
with the
after
world.
another.
And we passed one.
Trump so far, war will be a short-term excursion. War will continue until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. War, we already won in many ways. We haven't won enough. We go forward more determined than ever to achieve ultimate victory. Like, at some point, Americans have to cope with the reality that the person that's leading the country is genuinely a baboon. Okay? Many Americans are already aware of it, especially when it comes to domestic concerns where they're like, what the are you talking about? The prices are not down at all, you son of a bitch, right? But you have to realize every single thing that he says is not only a lie, but is directly at odds with the thing that he said prior. This is a nation run by a pedophilic baboon, okay? It sucks, but it's the truth. He will continue to reiterate points that are directly in contradiction to the point that came prior to it. Over and over again. It doesn't even matter, though, because his base eats that shit up. His base has developed this incredible appetite for misinformation. It is genuinely alarming, where they will go, war is over in a matter of moments. They'll go, hell yeah, war is over, mission accomplished. And then he will follow that up by saying, and we will continue the war for an endless amount of time until there is a decisive victory. And they go, yeah, we'll continue the war. In a matter of moments, they hear the words come out of his mouth, and immediately they swap their position. They do not recognize the contradictions. They do not recognize anything. They're just like, I believe you, sir.
Was the problem, but we're really bringing down prices big. Do you notice you don't hear that word anymore, Mike? They don't say it anymore because we brought down prices so much. So our message is simple.
Saying
Democrats
that right
created
now
the high
is
price.
amazing.
Our policies are totally ending them, and they're ended, and we're doing better. We're even bringing them down further. They'll be way down, and we're...
Yeah, these are the same people that say,
go
we're
back
not
into the
cattle.
last,
Don't be sheep. Don't be sheep, brother.
the last
I'm
period,
an
I
independent
would
thinker.
Say, I think it's 2.5 months, 1.7% inflation. 3 months, 1.45% inflation. Think of that. Whereas they had the highest inflation in the history, the single highest inflation in the history of our country. Now, you know, I always say this. They say 48 years, because I don't want the fake news to get me on this. They say it wasn't history, it was 48 years. That the inflation was the highest in 48 years. But I don't know, in some ways 48 years sounds even worse because it's very specific. Yeah. But they had the highest inflation probably in history, but in 48 years, we inherited that. One of the first targets must be the crushing healthcare. We have to crush and take over the healthcare situation, which we can do. For the first time, we can do it since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act.
Socialized
Big
medicine.
insurance companies have gotten rich. They've made money like practically no other companies have made, with our government giving them hundreds of billions of dollars, and their stock prices soaring to up to 1,700%, 1,000%, 1,200%, 1,600%, and even 1,700%. The government gave them essentially trillions of dollars. And I want that money to be paid to the person, not to the insurance company, and let them go out and buy their own health care. And people love it. People love it. You'll get better health care at a much lower cost, and they'll be sort of part of the system. But the money we spend on is so much. We spend numbers that nobody could even believe. But the healthcare companies, because the Democrats are owned by the insurance companies, remember that. And so they have a problem. That's why it's hard to get it fixed, because they're totally owned and controlled by the healthcare, by the insurance companies. Healthcare insurance, but the insurance companies themselves. So when you want to do something that's good for the people but bad for the insurance companies, it's very, very hard for them to go in a different way. Now, Republicans never do that kind of thing, right? You're owned by nobody, right? Nobody. See, a young girl up here say yes. Some of them are a little bit shaky, but they're Republicans. We love them. We love them anyway, right, Mike? But they are owned by those big, powerful insurance companies that are making a fortune, and it's hard to get them to do the right thing. They know what the right thing is. So we want the money to be paid directly to the people, and let the people go out and buy their own health care. And people love it. They love it. We can own the issue. For the first time ever, Republicans can own that issue. I'm also asking you to take swift action to codify my most favored nation policy on drug prices, the biggest. That alone should win the midterms. We have, and I tell this story all the time, my first term, third year, I actually had a slight, it was 0.25% decline in drug prices. First time in 28 years. I was so proud. I went home, told our great First Lady, who's now a movie star, I got the biggest, can you believe this? That movie was hot. And it is hot. She became a movie star. It was a good movie. But I went home and I said, you know, it's amazing We do so well. We work so hard. This issue is the single biggest issue. Okay. I had a news conference, I'm embarrassed to say,
Okay.
long time ago, my first term,
Third
year.
He admitted.
Because I went up.
He admitted he was the shadow
to
leader.
a level that I did things that nobody's
Brandon
ever.
stole
28
it.
years, I brought it down 1/4%. Now I brought it down 80%, 90%, 75%, depending
The glass
way
squares
on,
are the
it's
teleprompters,
driving the
Chatter.
fake news crazy because I say 400%, 500%, 600, depending on the way you want to talk about it, if you want to talk about pricing. But using a conservative number, what we've done is we paid the highest price for drugs anywhere in the world, and now we pay the lowest price for drugs anywhere in the world. We are tied for the lowest price. Whoever has the lowest price, that's what we pay. And I did that through tariffs. We had a little disappointing decision, to put it mildly, from the Supreme Court. Terrible decision for the people, but the good news is I have lots of other ways of doing the same thing. I just have to work a little harder. They want me to work harder, but we're doing the same thing with a lot of work. But I used tariffs to get this because I went to other countries. The drug companies were not easy, but I got them. And I said, we're not paying. We were paying for a pill $130 that in London and Germany and different places you'd pay $10. So we were paying 13 times more. They're paying $10, we're paying $130. And the drug companies, I called them in. We had a rough time, but it wasn't that bad. And they agreed because they knew that I couldn't get the countries. You had to get the countries to approve it. And I called up, and you've heard me say this a couple of times, not often, but I called the countries up. I called up France. I said, Emmanuel, you have to cut your good friends from America a reasonable deal. What's happening is you are paying a tiny fraction for drugs. No, Donald, I cannot do anything about that. I said, you can. He said, no, I will not do it. I will not do it. Because he'd have to raise his pill from $10 to $20 and maybe even $30. Ours would come down from $13 to $130 down to $20. Think of that. From $130. That's what you're going to get. From $130 to $20.
Daniel Dale is debunking.
But he has to
in
double
real
his
time?
price from $10, and they were the boss. I said, no, you will. No, Donald, I cannot do that.
Try to find wind
And I heard
farms
this from
in
all
China.
the other countries too, very elegant people. And they were saying, no, we
You
cannot
can't
do
find them.
this.
They're
We will not
everywhere.
do this."
It's
I
so
said,
windy.
Yes, you will, 100%. No, we will not. Because, they have to double up their prices. And I said, well, here's the story. If you don't do it, I'm going to put, in the case of Emmanuel, I said a 100% tariff on all wines and champagnes coming into the United States. No, Donald, you cannot do that. I said, I've already got the legislation.
No,
It's right in
Donald.
front of my desk. I'm going to sign it.
So fucking stupid.
Emmanuel, he said, Donald, I will agree to this. So he agreed. Everybody agreed. I got every country to agree. And now you've done something that no other president could have done. No, I don't want to brag. But, they've said this about a lot of things. No other president could do some of this shit I'm doing. No other president. The things I'm doing, nobody else was going to do it. They say it all the time, sir, could you do this? You're the only one can do it. But we got it done, and we got the countries to all go along. Because I said, if you don't do it, I'm going to raise your tariffs to 200%, to 150%, and that's 10 times more than I'm asking for. And every single one, if it took me 5 minutes, that was like a long time. I was doing badly with that one. So now we have most favored nation pricing into permanent law, and you should codify it. But I don't care that much about codifying it, because what politician is going to agree to increase drug prices by 500%, okay? So, but it's still good to have it codified. Don't you agree? They're saying, sir, we have to codify it. I said, that's okay, but I'm not. Other things you should codify. That I can tell you. This one, you should codify, because you want to take credit for it. You want to take credit for it. So if you can, please codify it. Get out there and codify. You're getting an 80%, 85%, 55%, 70% reduction in drug prices. Codify it. But if you don't, no president's going to raise it, in my opinion. Although they are crazy, you know, these people are crazy. They could find a way. You better get it codified. And as we work to bring down interest rates so that more Americans afford a house, I'm also asking you to ban the Wall Street firms, large Wall Street firms, institutional investors, from buying up thousands and thousands of single-family homes, hundreds of thousands of homes, because homes really are for people, not for hedge funds. We want to get the market out so they can do it, and we're stopping it. We want people to be able to buy a house. It's the American dream. Buying a house is a part of the American dream. And we must also stand up for the safety of our citizens. One of my guests at the State of the Union was Anya Zarutska, the mother of beautiful 23-year-old Ukrainian girl who was stabbed to death on a train in North Carolina by a deranged criminal, arrested more than a dozen times. And I had the mother, as you know, at the State of the Union, and she was devastated. Beautiful woman, devastated, uncontrollably devastated. And
you're not going to believe this.
We couldn't get one Democrat.
I can believe it.
Even clap. The Republicans.
I totally believe that. That's hilarious.
Not one Democrat in that whole room even thought about clapping. They sat there frozen-faced. Disgusting. House Republicans should get every member of Congress on record and pass a tough new crime bill that imposes harsh penalties for dangerous repeat offenders, which this nut was, cracks down on rogue judges and prosecutors, and ends no cash bail once and for all. No cash bail is a big part. I mean, you have a man murder somebody, and by that afternoon, he's out on bail. No cash bail. It's a huge problem. We also need to end deadly sanctuary cities, and you have bills before you now, and you're working on things, but hopefully you can do that, Mike, because it's terrible. They're sanctuary for criminals. That's all they are, sanctuary for criminals. They fight ICE all the time. That was the problem up in Minnesota. They had a lot of criminals in there. They wouldn't give it to us. And to stop illegal aliens who cannot even speak English from driving 18-wheel tractor trailers. They have no idea what they're reading. I wouldn't be able to do it in their countries. There's arrows, there's speed limits. They have no idea what they're reading. And in many cases, they're on drugs on top of that. We need to ban any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Have to do it. And I want to thank House Republicans for passing another common sense measure. I would think it's the easiest thing. I just told Mike. You know, you were at $19 million. I have to say this because I've never contributed. I was a huge contributor for years and years. Once I became president, I never contributed any money because the greatest thing about being president is I no longer have to contribute. Nobody ever asked me for money. They asked me for my endorsement. I've endorsed just about everybody in the room. But keep winning, right? Yeah. 124-0 this Tuesday. 124 wins, no losses. Is that good? And there were some rebels. We endorsed a few rebels, right? A few that Mike was saying, it's going to be a tough one. But we're 124-0. But as president, nobody ever asked me for money. And as president, you know, as president, you sort of don't make campaign contributions. So it doesn't even. But I heard you were at $19 million today. I said, has that ever been done? No, sir, it's a record, but 20 would sound better, right, Mike? Oh. Yes. He said, I'm going to give you $1 million. It's the first time I've done it. I never did it before. I never did it before.
My neighbor is a senator from Movimiento Ciudadano party here in Mexico City. Can get working them. I reached out to Moreno.
I never did it before.
Hell yeah, Chad.
Now I'll be hit up by every political group, every Republican running. Sir, could I have some? Give me a little cash. I'll have Emmer come up to me and say, how about a little cash for my campaign? I will no longer have the excuse that as president, Anyway, no, but we had to hit the 20, right? We had to hit the 20. That was a hell of a thing. You beat it by a lot. You beat the record, the previous record by a lot. But I want to thank House Republicans for passing another common sense measure, to me the easiest of all, the Save America Act, to protect our sacred American. Look at this. Look. It's the easiest thing we have. I can't, It's the easiest thing we have. Now, the problem is you call it the SAVE Act, and nobody knew what the hell the SAVE Act. Have you been seeing, I've been working overtime the last month.
The Irina Zaruska stuff never made sense to me because the guy had not been in prison for or arrested for 5 years. It had nothing to do with bail or leniency or anything. I guess you could argue in favor of involuntary confinement, but also not everything is a policy failure. A mentally ill person hurting someone is something that just kind of happens sometimes. Even with better mental health care, it will occasionally happen. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because it was a black guy with a long criminal record killing a white lady. And not like that dynamic in and of itself is so revealing of what this propaganda serves. Because if you recall what Donald Trump said in the State of the Union, which the media didn't really cover all that much, that was crazy, is that although Irina was the migrant in this situation and Irina's killer was the American-born American citizen in this situation, he quite literally said this was another instance of migrant crime. Like, he straight up swapped the roles and made it seem like it was an undocumented migrant that had killed an American citizen, because the entire anti-immigration narrative is built around white nativist sentiment. It's built around white supremacy. So even if the role reversal here is that it was an American citizen that killed a migrant, he's basically saying that it was actually a migrant that killed an American citizen.
Must show the act. Voter ID. Ready? This is not complicated. Voter identification. Now, I have a whole list, but I don't want to put, I have like hundreds of things on the list. If you go shopping, if you do this, if you buy a car, if you license a car, if you point to everything you need to have.
Guys, they did not kill Benjamin Netanyahu, and I don't think Iran also killed Ben-Gvir either. There are, however, reports of such incidents, so we'll obviously wait to see if that's true or not. Okay,
mail-in
calm
ballots,
down.
except for illness, disability, military, or travel. Mail-in ballots are a disaster. Jimmy Carter, the best thing he ever did, he headed a commission after he was president. It was the single best thing, and he did a thing on mail-in ballots. He said mail-in ballots should not be allowed because they are inherently dishonest. And we have seen it time and time again, and we just keep going with it. And I put that down as a top three. Look, no mail-in. Now, you have the exceptions for the military, and I would even say foreign-based military. But for the
Trump
military,
and his team is manipulating the market. Yeah, the money is so fake. It's never been more fake.
And if you're traveling, you have an excuse. And I was lenient on that. But those three things. Then I added two more. These are best of, best of. These are called best of Trump. We should also add on to this bill. And so what I've asked Mike to do is to draw a new one with these few things added. And let's go for the gold. Let's not just get one like voter ID, but, it can be given to you by your daughter. Your daughter, she has to be of age, like above 6 years old, she's allowed to say. You had to see some of this stuff is so bad. They're doing everything possible because they know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer. And they're going to fight like hell. But boy, do they get killed, because even the Democrats, you saw the numbers today, Democrats voted 86% that this stuff should be passed. The Democrats. With Republicans, you're at 98%, but Democrats are at 86, except for the people that run the Democrat Party.
Wait, what did he say?
They want to try and win elections. They know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer. And they're going to fight like hell. But boy, do they get killed, because even the Democrats, you saw the numbers today, Democrats voted 86% that this stuff should be passed. The Democrats.
Oh, he
with
was
Republicans, you're
girls of age at 6 years old. Y'all are so dumb. Who cares? Okay, yeah, sure.
I say 95%, maybe 100%. No men in women's sports. Very simple. Add that in. And
yes, he's a pedophile.
And I wanted to add in one other. I'm not even adding in no open borders because, you know, there's some people that like open borders. These people are crazy, but that's okay. Because I want 5 things that are like close to 100%. No transgender mutilization surgery for our children.
Mutilization.
You can't have transgender
mutilization
for our children. So those 5 things. 5 things. Voter ID, citizenship, mail-in ballots, no mail-in ballots. Right? We don't want men playing in women's sports. That's got to be about close to 100%. We don't want men playing in women's sports and no transgender mutilation.
You're a Turkish American imperialist, buddy. Your true colors shine when you talk about Kurdistan. You said the Kurdish people commit atrocities. I did not say that. Buddy, what do you think your beloved Turkey does? You support Palestine relentlessly, but call us a U.S. puppet and say how we fall for it again. Weak ass shit, Hassan. The colonialism is truly in the blood of every Turk and American. Yes, you did. I said the Kurdish people commit atrocities. The fuck are you talking about? You absolutely watched someone bastardize my words. I'm sorry. I really had hope for you. Man, shut your bitch ass up, dumbass. Actually, you know what? I'm going to unban you. I'm going to play with my food a little bit more. Iran saw Trump's CBS quote. Iran's deputy foreign minister says the first condition for a ceasefire is to halt further attacks. It's so funny because, like, the Kurdish parties have literally come out and said, yeah, we're not going to do the bidding of America this time. And this chatter is still yelling at me because I said the initial assessment, which was like Israeli reporting in general, was that the Kurdish militias were going to move into Iran and play a role in destabilizing the country at the behest of the CIA and Mossad, which is, once again, regardless of the understandable ambitions of Kurdish peoples in developing autonomous regions or developing Kurdistan, is totally at the behest of American empire. It's ridiculous and it's idiotic because guess what? Americans are going to literally turn around. How come the last time you tweeted about the Kurds was 7 years ago? Just curious. Wait, what? That's also not true. I've tweeted about the Kurds quite a bit this past week. Again, complete bullshit. And it's also completely irrelevant because guess what? While my criticism of what the Kurds were willing to do was directly related to what the Israeli news media was claiming that they were going to do, that they were going to play a role in, it doesn't even matter because guess what? The actual Kurdish troops are not on board with it, at least for the time being. Someone called in the Majority Report last week saying he was shown a clip of you claiming the Kurdish militias are agents of Israel from yesterday, then proceeded to explain the same assessment you had. Shocker. People must be clipping out of context. I know. Stop getting duped with dumbass bullshit, dumbass chatters.
Save. It's the Save America Act. If you could send it up in full form, meaning just straight, we will, I think, the Senate has to approve it. I really do. I think, and they're going to have to go the filibuster. And maybe it's going to be the talking filibuster like the old days. The great Jimmy Stewart, right? Remember the great movie, Jimmy Stewart? But they have to get it done because if we don't get this done, I'm for, if it takes us 6 months, I'm for not approving anything.
Turkey's a sovereign nation. Stop acting like
not approving anything.
We get a say in every NATO move. Wait, what?
This is approved.
Now there are Turks in the chat that are mad at me because I'm too critical of Erdogan. Like, this is why it's so stupid, because the Turks get mad at me for shitting on Erdogan for what it does to the Kurds, okay? And then the Kurds get mad at me because they don't hear me talk about Erdogan and what he does to the Kurds. And now the Turks are getting mad because they're saying like, oh, well, we have no sovereignty. What is Erdogan supposed to do? It's fantastic. All it does is just, pile onto the misinformation. It's wonderful.
And this is an even bigger example. So if I could ask the people in this room to go for the gold. We're going for the gold. We're not going for the bronze. We're not going to sign a watered down version like has been sent up there. Let's go for the gold, and let's just not accept anything else. I'll tell you what, I'm willing to just sort of say I'm not going to sign anything until this is approved. I really am. That's how bad it is. And we're going to have to push the Senate because you have 4 or 5 senators that are, I don't know, 4 or 5 Republican senators. You'll have to explain them to me, but we're not going to get into that. But we're going to push them to get it done because I don't think you can politically exist if you're not going to do voter ID and these things. I don't think the people in this country will stand for it. So I'm making my biggest plea tonight. It'll make you, and I'm not doing it for this reason at all. It'll guarantee the midterms. It'll guarantee the midterms. If you don't get it, big trouble, my opinion. If you get this, your midterms, and they know it.
It's so funny that he's just like openly saying that we have to not do democracy. Like he's like, we can't have democracy. Obviously, it's completely we're completely because I've ruined everything. So what we have to do is cheat. We have to just like make it as hard as possible for people to go out and be able to vote. That's the goal here. That's the overarching goal. That's the only consideration here. And it's awesome. He's openly saying it out loud to the Republicans that are listening to him. And if this was any other quote unquote regime overseas, we'd be covering it endlessly. Okay? We'd be covering it endlessly. We'd be like, the Trump regime has openly stated that they are in favor of destabilizing the normal election process.
And their cheating was at an inspirational level. We can't let that ever happen again. And then they cheated again in the last election, but I went up. The term I used most was too big to rig. You got to go out, don't believe, because we had polls having us way up. I said, don't believe the polls, go out and vote. Make it too big to rig. And that's what happened. A couple of races they cheated on, they got away with it. A couple of Senate races, my opinion. But we have to make it too big to rig, and that's what we did. But we shouldn't have to win an election that way. You're going to have a hard time winning elections that way. So you got to get that passed. And if we fight, we will win, and we will make our country safer and stronger and richer and greater than it ever has been before. And I want to say, very importantly, because they would like you not to say this, because this is a terrible thing in their opinion to say, God bless you and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
And then he's going to do, dude, it's so funny. It's so awesome. He's going to do the press conference or announcement in a little bit after this, I think, in like a half an hour or something. You're just like Claudia Scheinbaum. Oh, is it the 6'7" video? Yeah, Claudia Scheinbaum, haha, 6'7". Mi tío en Jalisco. Genuine question, isn't most of the people who have passports in America are high education, so democratic? Isn't Trump kind of playing himself here? No, because the goal to add these additional hurdles is to apply it exclusively to areas where there are blue voters. You add the voter ID stuff on board, and it's not actually to just like make the elections safe. The elections are American elections. For all of the problems that we have in America, our elections are pretty free, okay? And they're pretty well safeguarded. Now, Trump is trying to change that, but the real problem with the American elections is not voter fraud. There's no evidence for this whatsoever. It's another lie that they just add on to the pile. It's actually voter suppression. The problem is not enough people are voting rather than too many people are voting. That's why it's like incredibly stupid. But this is yet another thing that Republicans before Trump as well actively primed the base to believe. And Trump is just, knocking it out of the park. If he just did it on his own, it would probably favor Dems. But he also wants to nationalize the elections and then run them from Washington. So like literacy tests and poll taxes, if it was done selectively, yeah. The real problem is voter disenfranchisement. The real problem is engineering elections in a way where, every single person can't go out and vote, especially because during COVID, we did the mail-in ballots and Trump did not like that. Why did he not like that? Because a lot more people had the capacity to vote. People were at home. And that's the reason why Trump also constantly says, I got more votes than any other Republican ever before. Yeah, you did, because it was easier for people to vote for you, but it was also easier for people to vote for Joe Biden. So that is the reason. That is the reason why they will never allow elections to take place on a national holiday. That's the reason why we can't do compulsory voting, because if there was real democracy, if there were more people, what? Lush. Hey, I'm sorry that I might have been too accusatory. I shouldn't have called you those things. I'm sure you're fighting a good fight, but really feel the need to defend my Kurdish people back home. Thank you for your coverage, Hassan. But I just want to kindly remind you to be aware that the Kurds have very limited options. Yeah, I am aware that the Kurds have very limited options, chatter. What the fuck are you talking about? That's my assessment as well. You're yelling at me for things that you probably agree with. My statement is on what happened with Rojava. Okay? Kurds will fight to the end only to get betrayed at the end every single time. It's that simple. And yes, it is utterly unacceptable to fall for it again, but this time literally fall for it again, but this time directly at the behest of Israel. It's ridiculous. You said they're spying for CIA or some shit? Yes, if the Kurdish militias were literally, there are literally Kurdish militias inside of Iran that work with Mossad. Okay, this doesn't mean that all Kurds are working for Mossad. That's not what I'm saying at all. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Kurds have worked alongside the CIA. It's true. They did. In Syria, they did. I was in support of Rojava. But the reality is, yes, they absolutely got arms and also training from the American State Department, the American military, the CIA. This is not a controversial statement. It's just an accurate reflection of facts. And at the end of all of that, they got betrayed regardless. Turkish-backed forces were able to successfully topple the Assad government. And Turkey obviously demanded a prize for all of the work that they put in. And then they turned around and destroyed any kind of Kurdish autonomy that could have existed in Rojava. You don't really have the luxury to pick your allies when no one else is offering you help, but that doesn't change the outcome, would not be good. Yeah. So falling for it again so close after the way that Rojava unfolded is insane. It's completely insane. It's ridiculous. If you expect any other result, and as I said, aligning with the CIA or aligning with the Mossad in Iran would literally lead to the same exact outcome, which is Kurds go in, they engage, they foment ethnic conflict inside of Iran, or they tried to do so, and then if they are capable of overtaking the border territory between Turkey and Iran, and then Turkey's forces come in and bomb the fuck out of Kurdish villages. Just as this happened in northern Syria. That's what I said was going to happen if the Kurdish militias would go along with this scheme. Any kind of destabilizing initiative in Iran right now is 100% working in the interest of empire. It's just the truth. And this even pertains to, other Persian Iranians, Azeri Iranians, any Iranian that currently takes up arms against the state is working in service of Israel's goals in destabilizing and collapsing Iran. It's not about regime change. It's not about developing an autonomous region for yourself. It's just about piecing out Iran and balkanizing Iran at the behest of Israel. It's just, that's it. That's the case. The best scenario going forward for all Iranians of all different ethnic backgrounds, whether they be Kurds or in the Balochistan, the Balochistan region, or whether it be Azeri Iranians or whether it be Persian Iranians, the best scenario going forward is to just hold out to the best of your ability and keep the government intact. That's it. Like the imaginary Kurdish uprising and the proposal to take Karg, it seems like the Hawks just want to set the precedent of any kind of boots on the ground and are throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Yeah. Also, it doesn't even matter. They're now talking about like boots on the ground or special forces trying to overtake the uranium site, like the site where the enriched uranium is, and I think this is Isfahan, right? And then the other story is about overtaking the island of Karg, where like 90% of the oil passes through, like Iranian oil passes through, which again is crazy. And then the other one was to foment like some kind of popular mobilization by deploying the Kurds, trying to spark ethnic conflict inside of Iran. The Kurds didn't even bite it, though. They didn't even eat that bait this time around because it's so close to what happened in Rojava. It's ridiculous. In any case, it ultimately doesn't matter. All right, let's get back to what's actually going on. As far as the Kurds goes, as far as the Kurdish situation goes, it's very clear that a lot of the heads of Kurdish militia movements and Kurdish parties, both in Iran and in Iraq and in the region in general, have said, no, we're not going to do it. Some said they would only do it if American boots were deployed alongside them. Some said they would only do it if they get aerial support and aerial coverage from Israel and America. Some said, hell no. But it's clear that as it stands currently, Syria's Kurds are warning their Iranian counterparts not to align with the U.S., saying Washington will eventually betray them, citing their own experience in the last few months as proof. Okay? So all of the overall, the attitude from all of the united Kurdish movement is no, we're not going to do it. The time is not right for it, or we're just not going to do it at all. Is there a possibility of Kurdish militias aligning with Iran? I mean, there are Kurds in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. There are Kurds in the Basij forces. Like, there are literally ethnic Kurds that play a role in the Iranian security apparatus. They are they're well integrated into normal public life in Iran. It's a lot more complex than the way people present it. Okay? People are going to get mad at me and say that's not the case. Like, it's bullshit. All of the Iranian Kurds want to rise up against their government. They're an oppressed minority in Iran, but it's not as black and white as you say it is. Anyway, let's continue. Yeah, Americans are floating this insane idea as well, but I think this is also stupid. With no clear path on how like this operation would be conducted. Okay, like how the fuck are they going to do a special ops inside of Isfahan? It's ridiculous. Also, Sayed Abbas Araghchi, Foreign Minister of the Islamic Republic of Iran, says, "Thank you, CENTCOM, for admitting that you are using our neighbor's territory to deploy HIMARS systems against our people, apparently including a desalination plant. Nobody should complain if our powerful missiles destroy these systems wherever they are in retribution." There's also footage as well. Kuwaiti leaders allowed the U.S. to attack Iran from their territory, directly involving themselves in U.S. and Israel's regime change war. We saw the same thing in Bahrain. Trump's press conference is happening now. Okay, we'll watch Trump's press conference. I also have my guest coming in a second. Bro, did you talk about the short-term pain, long-term gain shit yet? Yeah. Where is it? Whether these arguments from the Iranian foreign minister are sincere or not, Iranian leaders seem to understand U.S. politics far better than American leaders understand Iranian politics. Also, that's very true as well. Araghchi is very good at his job. He is very good. Trump is live. He's doing his press conference. Let's take a look at what he says now.
5,000 targets to date, some of them very major targets. And we've left some of the most important targets for later in case we need to do it. If we hit them, it's going to take many years for them to be rebuilt, having to do with electricity production and many other things. So we're not looking to do that if we don't have to. But they're the kind of things that are very easy to hit, but very devastating if they are hit. We are waiting to see what happens before we hit them. We could take them all out in one day, but it's all resulting in a 90% decline in various things, but in particular, Iranian missile launchers, and 83% drop in drone launchers. As you know, the drone launchers are pretty well shot, but we're at over 90% decline in the Iranian missile launchers, which is very hard to reproduce and very hard to get. And usually what we were able to do through great equipment, a lot of smart people, as soon as they sent a missile up from a launcher, we were able to knock out that launcher within a period of 5 minutes or less, accurately, right on the noggin. So
Right
now we
on
have
the noggin.
low-cost interceptors effectively combating Iranian drones, and our B-2 bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound bombs to destroy missile launchers all over Iran and buried deep under Iranian soil in many cases. The soil was no match. And we're also annihilating the manufacturing base that the regime uses to build drones and missiles at a rate that nobody thought was possible. We're knocking them out. We know where they all are. We're knocking them out very quickly. We're ahead of our initial timeline by a lot. I would say that we probably would not have thought after a month we'd be here, in addition to the fact that we've taken out the leadership twice and maybe 3 times. And we, as you know, we want to be involved. We don't want another president that maybe wouldn't be willing to do what I'm willing to do. For
Yeah,
the good of the
definitely.
world,
That
for
would
the
be
good
really
of our
bad if
nation.
we had a president
To
that
be
was
stuck
doing
with
the
the
bidding of
situation
Israel
in 5 years.
unconditionally. That would be really bad. This is really good.
So we think they should put a president in, or the head of the country in, that's going to be able to do something peacefully for a change. They've been doing this for 47 years, killing people for 47 years, whether it's the barracks or even the SS Cole, where they were involved very strongly. They always denied it. But where they were very strongly involved, and all of the people that died through the roadside bombs died and are right now walking around with no legs, no arms, a face that's been so badly damaged. The Iranian regime has been attacking Americans and spreading terror for 47 years, and despite these countless opportunities to renounce their nuclear ambitions, which they had just a short while ago, they told Mr. Witkoff, who is standing right over here, they said, they actually said, we want to keep building. Essentially, in a real nutshell, we want to continue to build nuclear weapons. If we didn't knock out Midnight Hammer, if we didn't knock out their Iranian potential, if we didn't do that with Midnight Hammer, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have used it long before now. And at a minimum, Israel would have been annihilated. I was very lucky that we had the courage to do that we had the talented pilots and the great equipment. The B-2 bombers are unbelievable. We ordered 25 more, by the way. The newer, better version. It's we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world by far. You see that no matter where we go. You still need the people, though, to operate it and to use it. And those are the people that we cherish. Even after we obliterated their key nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer, they never negotiated in good faith. They still continued to say, we want to build nuclear. We want enrichment at levels that were unacceptable. And they even turned down an offer for unlimited free nuclear fuel forever for civilian purposes. We had people offering them free nuclear fuel. They weren't interested in that because they wanted to build a nuclear weapon. So instead, the regime was trying to reconstitute its weapons program at a different site. They couldn't go back to where they were, the 3 sites that we obliterated, but they were starting work at another site, a different site, different kind of a site, and that was protected by granite. They wanted it protected. Granite's pretty good, but they wanted it protected by a lot deeper. They wanted to go a lot deeper, and they started the process.
in Israel right now.
While rapidly building conventional ballistic missiles, they were going to do it all at the same time. It threatened our overseas bases and soon could have reached even our homeland. The regime's intention was to use this exponentially growing ballistic missile threat to make it virtually impossible to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So as you probably saw, they had a tremendous number of missiles, most of which are now being used or destroyed, and very unsuccessfully used, because we have been able, for the most part, to shoot them all down. What incredible technology. The Patriots have been unbelievable, and other things. And the laser technology that we have now is incredible. It's coming out pretty soon. Where literally lasers will do the work of, at a lot less cost, do the work of what the Patriots are doing or what other things are doing. The situation was very quickly approaching
His heart's not in
the
it.
point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And if you notice, they did something which was very foolish, very stupid, I would say. They attacked their neighbors. And their neighbors were largely neutral, or at least weren't going to be involved, and they got attacked. And it had the reverse effect. The neighbors
What's going on?
came onto our side and started attacking them. And actually,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Oliver Lark is in the building.
You look at Saudi Arabia. You look at UAE.
He's going to be joining
Qatar,
our
and
press
others.
conference watch.
But they were strong.
And then
they were
afterwards,
smart, but
I'm gonna hold his feet
when
to
I
the
first
fire
heard it, I said,
and
no,
ask him
somebody
some
made a
questions,
mistake.
some tough
There
questions.
was no mistake. UAE had over 1,000 missiles.
Welcome to the
shot at it,
broadcast.
knocked them
We're
almost
listening to
all
Donald
down.
Trump talk about
On the very
the
first day I
fantastic
came down the
operation,
escalator in
Operation
2015,
Epic
I
Fail,
said,
Operation
quote,
Epstein's Fury,
I will stop Iran from getting
and how
nuclear
wonderful
weapons.
it's been so far.
And all I'm doing
regardless
is
of what the
keeping
haters
my
and losers
promise.
are
Think of
saying.
That was in 2015. I said it. It was a threat then, and a much bigger threat now, but no longer a threat, not for a long time anyway. We want to keep it that
great
way as
suit,
we
by the
continue
way.
Operation
appreciate that.
Epic
Yeah,
Fury.
looking
We're
good.
Got the
also
DSA
focused
pin.
on keeping
Wear it everywhere.
energy
That's
and
my version
oil
of the American
flowing
flag
to
pin.
the world. And I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply. And if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level. I will take out those targets that were easy and that I mentioned just before. We'll take them out so quickly, they'll never be able to recover, ever.
So
if they
far,
want to
it's
play
been
that game, they better
epic
not play
victory.
that game. In the long run,
After
oil
epic
supplies
victory,
will be dramatically more secure. Without
a
the threat of
lot of
Iranian
like
ships.
IRGC affiliated accounts and like media yesterday was saying that he would declare victory as an effort to like draw back American forces. And once I think he saw the price of the oil barrels go up to like almost $120 a barrel, he very quickly gave an interview earlier today to CBS regime media, claiming, "Oh, we're almost done. We're almost done with the war," and that actually did quickly recover the futures market a little bit. It was a total manipulation, in my opinion, especially considering that there has not been any sort of real scale back on our bombing campaigns in Iran. Israel is still continuing to deploy weapons in Iran, and Iran is still continuing to pummel Israel and also a lot of the regional allies.
In
And
the meantime,
the Strait of
during this
Hormuz is
brief
not open.
disruption, the
Yeah,
United
Lebanon's
States is
getting
offering
pummeled.
Yeah.
Civilians are being murdered in Beirut, and Israel's just using this as another excuse to not only go to war with Iran, but with all of the regional countries that it's bombed 6 countries last year. So this is just yet another excuse. And
Yeah.
even today, I mean, the United States purported allies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are basically looking at what the United States is doing, and they're not coming to the rescue the way that Trump is expecting. And I think this is just, Trump is having his mission accomplished moment right now.
Oh, yeah.
With like George Bush on the aircraft carrier. It is insane the way that history just repeats itself. And even someone like Trump, who ran as the purported anti-war candidate, which he never really was. He's a neocon, just like they all are. And
Yeah.
he's just, he rides the coattails of whatever public sentiment is. So when he criticized the Iraq war, it was only after the fact that it happened. He was just as warmongering as every other neocon freak that this Republican Party nominates. And yeah, it's insane. Rubio as well.
going there in a short period of time. and we're protecting the world from what these lunatics are trying to do, and very successfully,
Projection.
I might add. We're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off till this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have
When he
to
says
put
some
them on. There'll
countries,
be
he's talking
so
about
much
Russia,
peace.
which, by the way, has been
But when the time comes, the U.S. Navy and its partners will
spectacular
escort tankers
defeat
through the
in
strait
our
if needed.
foreign policy
I hope
against
it's not
Russia
gonna be
as well
needed.
as it wages a war in Ukraine. That's what he's talking about when he says like all these other countries that we previously forced sanctions on or told to separate their ties and their energy dependence on Russian oil and gas. They're now retreating
Do
on that
that
as
if
well.
they play that game. We're going to hit them at a level that they have not seen before.
Yes.
So we're winning very
After this is over,
decisively.
I'll introduce Oliver.
We're way ahead
once
of
again,
schedule.
Okay.
It's our military is the greatest in the world, with the greatest equipment and the greatest people in the world. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Iran's a very powerful country.
want
They were
water or
going to
anything?
take over the Middle East.
You're
If we
good.
did
I
not
got my
hit
little
them,
coffee here.
they were going
All
to
right.
take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands
Appreciate
since
you.
their last hit. They had thousands and thousands of missiles and everything else. Most are now destroyed. But they were going to take over
Oh,
the
Boca
Middle East.
Raton, what's up?
Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries that had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over the Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and
561.
we're
what's
very
good?
proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder.
Yeah, he's.
Thank you very
This
much for
is-
being here. Go ahead. Any questions?
Oh shit! Oh, this is the best part. This is a crazy
you
thing to
so
say
much.
when
Do
the
you
other side is
approve
completely.
of Iran's new supreme leader? And secondly, can you tell us more about your call with Russian President Vladimir Putin
When
today?
the
What did
Iranian
you
side is like
discuss?
Yes, I had a
operating in
very
a totally
good call
sovereign
with
manner, it is wild to just
Putin.
come out and be like,
A
oh,
lot
it's
of
a
people on the line
total
from our
victory.
side, from
They're
his
going to pull
side.
back now.
We were talking about Ukraine, which is just a never-ending fight. And look, there's tremendous hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky. They can't seem to get it together. But I think it was a positive call on that subject. And we obviously talked then about the Middle East. And he wants to be helpful. I said, you could be more helpful by getting the
Over
Ukraine-Russia
soon. Well, he
war
said it's
over.
over
I'll be
soon.
more
This is what's
helpful.
going on.
But we had a very
in
good
Israel,
talk,
like right now.
and he wants to be very constructive.
Missile
Yeah.
alerts everywhere.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over? Are
No,
you
but
talking
soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay.
Oh no, not this week,
Very
but
soon.
soon.
Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are two levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But two levels
They
of
replaced
leadership are gone.
Khomeini with Khomeini.
Most people have never even heard about the leaders that they're talking about. So it's obviously been very.
This guy,
very
no one's
powerful,
ever
very
heard of him. His
Cuba,
name
you
is
said that Cuba wants to
Khomeini,
make a deal.
but
What would
younger.
the United States get in return for that? And why should Americans trust Marco Rubio to negotiate it?
Well,
Jared
Marco
Moskowitz
Rubio
trusts
is doing a great
Marco
job. I think
Rubio.
he's going to go down as the greatest Secretary of State in
Yeah, get
history.
your licks in, King.
Yeah.
Look at what we've done as a
It's crazy. I mean,
presidency. Look at what we've
don't
done
want
as
to
an
interrupt the
administration.
president.
Yeah,
but
the goat.
They trust Marco.
Yeah,
and
no,
so do
totally.
The American people trust. He's been successful no matter where he's been. He also speaks the language, which is always nice.
Oh,
and
they're
always
talking
helpful.
about the
But he's dealing, and it
the
may be
Operation
a
Reactionary
friendly
Shield
takeover.
in Latin
It may not
America.
be a friendly takeover. It wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
because
they
they're
trust
really
him. He speaks the
they're
language.
Down to,
That's
as they
crazy.
say, fumes. They have no
helping
energy,
another
they have
narco
no,
dictator in Ecuador,
money. They're
Noboa.
in deep
Yeah.
trouble on a humanitarian
Our
basis.
South
And,
American policy is so
we don't want to see that. They were very, very
disastrous. It
bad
is
to a lot of people, as you know.
devastating, and we can't even like focus on it that much because we're fucking up the Middle East right now.
At record levels.
No, but
Very
Rubio,
important.
Graham,
Those
they're
people are
frothing
very
at the mouth
important to
over
me. I
Cuba
know what
Yeah.
they
right
went through.
now.
They went through hell. Some of them have gone on to be some of the most successful people in the country. Cuban American business
There we
people,
go.
some of them are like the most successful in the country. And a lot of them are friends of mine because I've been fighting this battle with them for a long time. The Castro
fighting
regime
the
was
battle
brutal.
against Cuba.
But they lived off Venezuela. Now they don't live off Venezuela. Sends them no energy, no fuel, no oil,
No, Venezuela's
money,
sending
no
it to
nothing.
Israel now.
They lived without Venezuela, they couldn't have made it, and we cut them off from everything else. So, yeah, they're going to make either a deal or we'll do it just as easy anyway. Yeah.
Whenever they say,
Please.
like, one of the most devastating words that a sequence of words that you could hear from an American leader, especially this one, is "we're doing a deal with them," because time after time, I mean, they had a phone call with Maduro 8 days prior to the kidnapping, right? And we all know what the negotiations process looked like twice now with Iran. So this, for me, is terrifying because I have a personal stake in this a little bit as well, right? I'm going to Cuba soon, and it's. I mean, I don't know. It's just like one of the cruelest, endless policies that we have.
But that's being investigated right now. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning. It's the beginning of building a new country.
Oh,
But
we're
they
nation
certainly-
building
they
now.
have no Navy,
Oh,
they have
yeah,
no
that
air
worked out
Regime-
so well.
regime
They
change
have
and
no
nation building in Iran.
anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no
don't-
radar. They have no telecommunications.
This shit pisses me off
And they have
so
no
much 'cause, like,
leadership. It's all gone. So, you could look at that statement.
George W. Bush with a spray
We could
tan.
call it a tremendous success right now as we leave here. I could call it, or we could go further, and we're going to go further.
Oh,
But,
so it's not over.
The big risk on that war has been over for 3 days. We wiped them out in the first 2 days. When you think about it, it's
Gonna go back
incredible.
to
We
this
wiped
real
out a
quick.
big navy, very powerful navy. These were ships. These were serious ships. These were
Literally
ships
none
that
of
you
their
buy
naval assets,
when you
none
want
of
to
their
win
large
battles.
naval
They're all
assets are relevant in this.
They're all on the
Most of
bottom
the
floor.
naval
The
assets
sailors
they
are all
bombed on the
running off
first
the
day
ships
were
and
already
refused to get
parked
on
on
the
the
ship.
docks. Like they didn't have
The Air
people
Force
in
is
them.
gone. Everything's gone. The missiles are down to a trickle.
The real
Down to a trickle.
the real Iranian
Probably
Navy
25%.
is the go-fast boats that they have.
And they'll
they
soon be
haven't
down to
actually been able
nothing.
to
We'll have
strike those.
where they manufacture the drones are under fire as we speak. They're being hit. So the rest is going to be determination as to my attitude, along with the people in the Trump administration, what we want to do. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Can I ask you, you mentioned you were going to waive certain additional oil waivers or sanctions. Can you talk a little bit more about that and address in particular?
Well,
are
we're
you
looking to
considering
keep the
measures
oil
like-
prices down. We went artificially up because of this excursion.
Israeli
into
chatter says while he's
a very
talking, we get
positive
sirens
thing.
over and
This
over
was an
again.
excursion
Fucking
that a lot of
liar.
people wouldn't have done. I knew oil prices would go up if I did this, and
No, he's got
they've
this.
gone
Him
up
and Bibi
probably
got this,
less
bro.
than I
Don't
thought
worry.
they'd go up. But I don't think anybody thought we were going to be this quickly successful. This
He said
was
artificially
a
the oil prices
military
went up.
success, the likes of
Artificially.
which
Was it the
people
largest
haven't
oil
seen. We
spike
have the
since
best
2008
military.
with
We have the best equipment.
Lehman Brothers? Yeah.
We have, I believe, the best generals. We have the best. And this went very quickly. We
I love
talked
when they
about
do
that
this
with
thing where it's like,
President
oh,
Putin.
well,
He was
you're not
very
shitting
impressed
on me. You're shitting
with
on our
what he
beautiful
saw.
generals,
This-
actually.
Nobody's ever seen anything quite like
Okay.
it. Iran was a very powerful military country with all of the missiles. Now, you had the double attack. You had the original attack with us and Israel, and that knocked them for a loop. Then you had the B-2 bombers, which took out their nuclear capability,
I
and they
love
would
this
have had
image.
a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And they would have used it long before this press conference.
They would have had a nuclear weapon
and
2
we
weeks
might
to
have had
4
a much
weeks.
different press conference if we had a
He
press
is literally
conference
Benjamin
at all.
Netanyah's flesh puppet. Like he
But
is just
it's
like
been
saying
amazing.
everything that they've
the
told him in
military
those rooms.
success that we've had is truly unprecedented.
2 to 4 weeks away for 30 years.
Yeah.
You said you've told your congressional colleagues that you will not sign any piece of legislation until the Save America Act is passed. Does that include the confirmation of Senator Mullen as your next DHS secretary? Does that mean a DHS funding bill? And Senator Thune said today it's not a matter of whether or not your Republican colleagues agree with the policy, it's about changing the process. In other words, getting rid of the filibuster to get there.
So in order to get it, you're going to need Democrat votes. And what we're saying is the Save America, not the SAVE Act, which nobody knew what it was, the Save America Act, the Save America Act. And that's voter ID. We want voter ID. When a voter, we want to be able to see a picture of the voter. We want to be able to see that the voter is legitimate. We want, very importantly, confirmation that this voter is a citizen of the United States of America, and we want no mail-in
literally
ballot
is a
scams.
problem that doesn't exist. It's a problem
we
that
have
was purely
exceptions for the
invented. It's
military,
identical
for
in
sick.
many respects to the whole like immigrants are doing crime narrative. Again, no evidence for this whatsoever. There have been a million different independent and also partisan studies conducted on this issue on whether or not undocumented immigrants are actually voting, or there's like tremendous amounts of voting fraud that's taking place in the United States of America. And time after time, they found no evidence whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, I think the most comprehensive study conducted was by the Heritage Foundation or the American Enterprise Institute, one or the other. I can't remember right now off the top of my head. And they found 1,200 instances of voter fraud. 1,200 instances of voter fraud over 30 years. Okay? And they weren't all Democrats, as a matter of fact. Many of them were actually Republicans. Ironically enough, whenever they do, it was Heritage, thank you. Whenever they do these kinds of studies, these comprehensive studies, what they end up finding is like a lot of the high profile instances of voter fraud are unironically Republicans. And when they're actually arrested for it and asked, like, what the were you thinking? They go, this happened in 2016. Where a Trump supporter was like, well, I had to do it because the Democrats were doing it. So I had to counteract the Democratic voter fraud by doing voter fraud myself. So like this notion that there is tremendous amounts of voter fraud taking place in this country is so idiotic. It's never existed. And before people say this is Trump, this is classic Trump, no the not. Even Paul Ryan had indicated that voter fraud was taking place in California. This has been an ongoing Republican lie. Even the smart Republicans and the reasonable Republicans have also conducted this lie as well. They've leaned into this lie as well. It's a part of the GOP playbook to justify voter suppression, which is the real problem with elections.
Yeah, I mean, in companion to everything the Supreme Court has done since Shelby County v. Holder in 2013, removing federal pre-clearance, that really has just instigated the past 12, 15 years of complete voter suppression. So it's another classic case of Republican projection, as so many of these things are. They're afraid of the voter fraud, that they're creating their own incentive to have their supporters commit it when it's statistically insignificant on a macro level.
Yeah.
Things that have happened that have been very bad. A lot of them came in during the Biden open border period, but we have them under, we've got them, we're watching every single one of them. Yeah, we know a lot about them. The biggest problem we have is the Democrat shutdown. We know a lot about them, but the shutdown doesn't allow us to do what we have to do.
Do you have to take him out? Does he have a target on his back?
You mean the new Supreme Leader? You mean the son?
How can there be an Iran with
Well,
another
I don't
Ayatollah?
want to say that, but I was disappointed because we think it's
I
going to
thought the
lead to
clerics
just more
would
of the
come
same
to me.
problem for the country. So
I
was
found the light of
disappointed to see
Allah.
that
I
choice.
am Shia now. I say Ya Ali every morning, and they won't ask me for
you said
my
you have someone
take.
in mind to be the new Iranian
I've read
leader
all
if
the
it's not the
surahs.
Ayatollah's son. What are
Mashallah.
you looking for in
Yeah,
that person?
he
Are you
is.
looking
He
at
has
someone
found the light of
internal, given
Allah.
that
He
you
has
just
found
said that
the
their
light of
leadership has been
Islam.
I like the
wiped
idea
out?
of internal and eternal, come to think of it. But I like the idea of internal because it works well. I mean, I
Kid
think
Rock.
we've proven
I
that
wanted
so
Kid
far.
Rock to run the country.
In Venezuela, we have a woman, Delcy, who has been, president of the country, very respected, she's doing a great job.
That hurts my soul.
And it's, no disruption. We had, as you remember, Iraq, where everybody got fired. The military got fired, the police got fired, the politicians got fired. There was nobody. And you know what they turned into? ISIS. And we don't want that. We don't want that. So,
this is the part of
I would
Trump's
like to see people that are inside
messaging that
now
is
they
correct
talk about
too.
the
Like
son of the Shah.
if there's going to be
They talk
intervention,
about other
Venezuela
people,
is
but,
the better
hasn't
case
been there
scenario.
many,
It's like
many years.
tactically much smarter to do what he
We
did in
have a
Venezuela as opposed to
formula
like what
that's been very good
Iraq turned
so
into.
far, and I think
But
it'll
of course,
continue to be
when
good.
you
The
meet an
relationship is
immovable
extraordinary with
object
Venezuela.
like the competent Iranian state, regardless of like the repressive nature and whatnot in their domestic affairs, like it is clearly a very different type of country. All of a sudden, you can't do that. You can't just do like a swift decapitation and then turn around and just be like, all right, we're doing regime change now. We're going to cut a deal, especially when the other party involved is Israel, and Israel doesn't want any regime change whatsoever. Israel wants a failed state. So that's what the issue that he's running into here. If he had the opportunity to pull a Venezuela in Iran, he would have taken it most likely. Not that like the Iranian government was willing and interested in doing some sort of like regime change anyway. But Israel is the real spoiler
Suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that.
Oh my
when he was asked,
God!
standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it.
Oh
I
my
think
God! Who
it's
the f- is this
something
guy?
that I was told is under investigation.
It's a ballsy question.
But tomahawks are.
He's about to get tomahawked
used by
himself,
others, as you
dude. They're
know.
gonna pack him up.
Numerous other nations have tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report. Yeah, please.
Oh my God, journalists do that all the time. Oh my God, do that all the time, please.
In many ways, but we haven't won enough.
A real shame for all the career reporters that don't ask
Where
questions
they're
like
not
that, by
going
the
to
way.
be starting the following day to develop a nuclear weapon, where they'll look at that man and some other people from the administration and say, all right, we're not going to do it. They were not willing to say that. And when Steve called up and he said that to me, I said, well, here we go. Let's do it the hard way. But the hard way, I think, is probably the easy way. When basically I can see that they will no longer have any capacity whatsoever for a very long period of time of developing weaponry that could be used against the United States, Israel, or any of our allies. We have great allies in the Middle East, great countries that are allies. And they were staying out of it until they got hit. Someday they'll have to do a story. Why did he do that? Why did they do that? But they were going to hit them. If I didn't hit them first, they were going to hit our allies first. I believe, upon
It's weird because they
information
weren't
and
doing
belief,
that before
but
they
I
got
believe
bombed.
that he
So
was
it's
going
very
to.
strange that
They were going to take over
like,
the Middle
even
East. They
from,
were looking to take over.
even from
the,
like the logic that they're trying to present here, like it is a total and utter defeat because they weren't closing the Strait of Hormuz. They weren't bombing the American bases in the Gulf. They weren't bombing Israel. And they only started doing the worst possible scenario from our perspective after we started bombing them and we engaged in a decapitation
missiles were
strike.
aimed at various countries. And when you look at over 1,000
fucking
missiles
failure.
shot at like UAE, they were looking to take over the Middle East. We got there first. We're lucky. I'll tell you what, the Middle East and those countries, very rich countries, are very lucky that I was president instead of somebody else.
Yeah, this is basically it. The reason Iran is a geopolitical threat is because they could block the Strait of Hormuz
I
and
don't
cripple the
think
world's
so.
economy, something
We
they have
get
never
along
done.
very
So
well
we
on
bombed them
this.
until they did
It
that.
was,
Is literally the
I was saying
fucking
philosophically
is
a
the
little bit
attitude
different,
from this administration is so
than me.
stupid.
I think he was maybe less enthusiastic about going, but he was quite enthusiastic. But I felt it was something we had to do. I didn't feel we had a choice. If we didn't do it, they would have done it to us. I felt, based on the negotiations that were being had by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Marco and Pete and everybody was involved, I felt that they were looking to tap us along before they hit, and I thought they were going to hit. And if they hit us first, that would have been a very bad thing. In the back, please, in the back.
The only countries that do this preemptively are the United States and Israel.
Yeah.
About the Strait,
it's
you mean?
It's total violation
Yeah, well,
of all fucking
I want to keep it
previous,
open. I
like,
want to
rules
keep
of
it
conflict
good.
and
You know, it
international
doesn't
human
pertain to
rights.
us so much as it does to China. We're really helping China here and other countries.
With the acid rain
Because
cloud
they get
that
a
is
lot of
blowing over
their
China right now
energy
from bombing
from the
the oil
Straits.
depots in
he's
Tehran.
saying because like the Strait of
Hey, look, we have a
Hormuz
good
is, like,
relationship with
sending
China. It's
energy
my
to
honor
all of
to
our
do it.
allies
Yeah.
in Asia and China as well. That's what he's like. Oh, we're helping China.
You have
It's like,
called
bro,
him
you broke
an
it. You broke
unacceptable
it.
Choice. So does he have a target on his back? And how can you say
I
that-
don't want to say whether or not he does because that would be inappropriate. But hey, look, I had a target on my back because, as you people wrote pretty well, they caught the assassin that was after me. So we
Yeah.
just got them first, but they caught the assassin. They have him now in custody that was after me. So, you know,
Ryan
but, people don't like to mention that, but they did catch him. And I'd like to
He was
congratulate our
Iranian.
military, Secret Service, FBI, all of the people that worked on that, but they did. Yeah, please.
It's not lost on me that every single person that has tried to kill Donald Trump has at some point either been a Trump supporter or directly voted for Donald Trump, including, but not limited to, Ryan Ruth. It's crazy. There was the other Mar-a-Lago guy, the attempted one. Again, another Trump supporter.
Very menacing.
Trump supporters keep trying to kill Trump.
They have an amazing population. It's amazing, smart, brilliant, energetic. They have a great, I'd love to help them, but they have to be in a system that allows them to be helped. And right now they're in a system that only allows failure. And I don't want that. And I want a system that's not going to be attacking us. We want a system that can lead to many years of peace. And if we can't have that, we might as well get it over with right now. Yeah, please.
What does that even mean?
As of today, there have been 8 U.S. military fatalities associated with the war in Iran. How many American deaths are you willing to have in this war?
Oh my God.
Well, as I said before,
What is happening to the
when you
media
have
today?
conflicts like this, you always have death. And I was at Dover yesterday. I met the parents, and they were unbelievable people. They were
Look,
unbelievable
I'm not the biggest fan of
people,
Barack
but they all
Obama
had
either.
one
I've been
thing
very
in
critical of
common.
him,
They
but
said
can
to
you
me one
imagine
thing,
Barack
every single
Obama
one.
responding like this? Like,
Finish
what
the
would
job,
be
sir.
the result
Please,
of
finish
Barack
the
Obama being
job.
like, yeah, you know, people die sometimes?
I'll leave you at that. Thank you very much, everybody.
Going
Thank
completely apeshit.
Oh my God! Speaking of Fox News, okay, did you see the Fox News coverage where he was wearing the hat when they were doing the dignified?
Oh yeah,
transfer?
and they swapped in the. It's total state propaganda.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then they apologized for it after the fact. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes President Trump's press conference. That was a disaster of epic proportions, but obviously I got to do an introduction first. Once again. Hasan Reaction is one of the best ones in the React channel.